So the big question is this: how do passionate golfers like you and I develop a stock shot day in and day out? A stock shot that's as reliable as the sun coming up in the morning. That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. Welcome to Stock Shot Secrets. Practice by mechanics, play by feel. The advice that Jack Nicklaus, the greatest player of all time, told me. So what did he actually mean? I've had a lot of time to think about this, and every single time I think about it, I come away with a little bit more nuggets. So this statement was a statement that he taught me when is back in 2000, right after I graduated college in 2008, 9, right? And I sat down with him, and he told me a lot of cool things, right? That was where he basically introduced me to the concept of a stock shot, which is obviously very important, knowing that this is Stock Shot Secrets, and we have everything is built around the stock shot at the golf room and the golf room everywhere. But the fact is that through that, he also gave me the advice of, I sat down with him, I go, hey, Mr. Nicklaus, like, if you were going to give me advice, because as I'm getting ready to be a professional golfer, like, what would you tell me? And he goes, well, first you need to have a stock shot, blah, 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 blah. And then second thing is you need to learn how to practice by mechanics and play by feel. And when he told me that, I was like, okay, I never even thought about it. But what he actually was meaning was there was a lot to that that we could have gone into in detail, right? And the first point is that when we're practicing golf, right, what happens is that we're practicing golf, and you always hear players, they're like, I'm a feel player. And I'm like, I am too. Like, isn't everybody who in golf is not a feel player? I think everyone's a field player, so that's not even almost a logical statement. But the fact is that when players are practicing on the range, they're practicing just trying to create a feeling that makes the ball go correct. The problem is that that's not correct, because the feeling that you think you're creating might not be the actual feeling that is correct. So let me explain a little bit further. You might think that you're trying to quote-unquote swing it to first base. But unless you're actually swinging it to first base, you don't know if that feeling is right or wrong. And feelings lie. I mean, the amount of times that I have filmed my golf swing and I thought I was doing something and the video says something completely different is like an insane amount, right? And that's with everybody. It just happened the other day. I was doing a webinar on Monday, and I was warming up before the webinar, and my buddy Dominic, who's my business partner at the Golf Room Everywhere, I was like, hey, like, does this look like I'm doing this? And he's like, no. I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels absurd of what I was trying to work on, but it didn't do that at all, right? So the point being is that you have to make sure that when you're practicing, the mechanics that you're practicing are the proper mechanics. So that's where you go, well, how do you know if what you're doing is proper? And I go, well, first, you have to have an understanding of what it is that you're actually trying to do. And then secondly, you have to actually have, let's say, feedback stations, i.e. cones and noodles and all that kind of stuff, to make sure that you're actually doing it so that the mechanics are correct. So I'm practicing by mechanics, right? Now there is a time that now when I'm doing and practicing in the mechanics, right? I always say that when you're practicing, when you make a proper swing, that then gives you the proper feeling. So when I'm practicing by mechanics, it is then giving me the proper feeling to take to the golf course, right? And that happens through, like, if I'm doing it in a feedback station, I know it looks right because I'm filming it on video. And if I'm missing, like, the object, the cone, the noodle, whatever it may be, that is creating the proper swing, which now gives me the proper feeling. And now when I go to the golf course, I am playing by feel. So I'm practicing by mechanics and I'm playing by feeling, right? And the goal is that when you're playing, you want to be playing by feeling and not mechanics, because that allows you ultimately to have great rhythm and great tempo. And if you have those two things in line, now you can play up to the highest level of skill that you currently have, right? And it's better to make a swing that is not correct, but with great tempo and timing, than a swing that's perfect with bad tempo and timing. Which is why when you're playing golf, you need to have a freedom, like a freedom to fail, right? It's okay to fail, right? And you can't be tied to the result of it. So if you can do that and you're playing within yourself and you're creating the feel, now you can just let it go. So when we're practicing, practicing should be really, really hard, right? It should be really challenging, and it should be really uncomfortable. If it's not uncomfortable, you're not changing. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Stock Shot Secrets podcast. If you are enjoying it, be sure to like this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you can always see when they're coming out. And most importantly, if you would be so kind to be able to share this podcast with other passionate golfers who are trying to get better and build stock shots, because it grows through you sharing it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now back to Stock Shot Secrets, right? It's just like a workout. If I were to go into the gym and do like curls of 1 pound weights, you'd be like, this is worthless. Right? But if it's really hard, right? Like today, my chest is kind of sore because of what the workout we did yesterday. Like that means yesterday's workout was a great workout because it was hard and it was difficult. And when I got done, I laid in the gym for like 6 minutes, just like exhausted because it was so difficult. And I was so happy that it was so exhausting because I was like, man, at 6 a.m, like this was worth me waking up and doing it because it was difficult. We want it to be difficult because that means I'm pressing through and I'm advancing, right? Which is the practicing by mechanics. And then when we go play, we're going to play by feel, which is why in our play box, we are going to feel it, then see it, then trust it, right? So we go think box, lie, land, loft, club, and then we go to the play box, feel it, see it, trust it. And the way that we feel what it is that we want to work on or do in our swing, we have created that feeling through the mechanics of our practice in our feedback station. Whereas if you never have a feedback station and you've never made that proper swing, you have no idea what it feels like. Just like if I go to a person who's 24 years old and I tell them with the utmost detail what it is like to like see your kid for the first time and the amount of emotion that goes through your soul and your heart and your stomach. I can do that story with the utmost detail and they still would have no idea because they've never experienced it. You have to create the experience in your practice, and that is done through feedback, which is why we're practicing by mechanics. Now that creates the feeling to then go play by feel, because now when I feel it, see it, and trust it, I feel what I'm trying to do, which is just basically copying what I've done inside my practice stations, right? Then I see it. I'm literally articulating what is exactly it is that I want to do, and then I just walk up and I trust it, right? And I just let it go, and I have no fear of failing, and if I fail, it's okay, right? But there's times that, well, I don't need to get into that, but you're just trusting what it is that you're wanting to do. So that's my challenge for you guys, right? Is when you go practice, make practice hard. Challenge yourself, right? And practice and make sure that when you're practicing your mechanics. Then when you go play, put the mechanics away, shelf them, and just play with feel. Do not go out on the golf course thinking about 90 billion things like, okay, I got to do this and this and this and that and this and this and that and that. Just go out and say, I'm just recreating the feeling that I've had, right? And that's going to allow you to play up to your level of talent. And therefore, it's also going to make golf way, way more fun. All right? So give it a go. Take the advice of Jack Nicklaus, one of the best of all time, if not the best of all time. Practice by mechanics and play by feel. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Stock Shot Secrets. Now, as a listener of Stock Shot Secrets, I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get better. So if you were to go to stockshotclub.com, I'm going to give you 7 days free access where you can send us your video and we will give you personalized individual attention as to what you need to do so that you can start building stock shots. So just go to stockshotclub.com and register there. We'll give you 7 days free where you can try it. And then if we like it, you can stay inside the Stock Shot Club where we can become your coach and walk with you for your entire journey. Thank you so much. And be sure to go visit stockshotclub.com.